activity. The other part is really we're seeing some similarities to the BC election that took place about a year and a half ago, where Christy Clark was the incumbent premier. And again, you had strong economic fundamentals, and this was a long-standing Liberal government in power in BC, although the Liberal Party in BC is a little bit different than the Liberal Party here. And again, it was sort of the sense that cost of living was going up, or that it wasn't being, the economic prosperity wasn't being felt by everyone. And so that message, as much as it was hammered by the Christy Clark Liberals about the excellent economic news, it just wasn't resonating with the average voter. And we saw the outcome where, now it's a BC NDP government in place. Minority government supported by the Green Party.
How many seats?
Oh, I have no idea.
2? So the BC election, I think, is informative here. Keep an eye on this because you had the NDP and the BC Liberals essentially tied, and the Green Party, which I think were on 2 seats,
I think they
actually holds a balance of power in a minority. Certainly the numbers here indicate that the Liberals are not going to win very many seats. The PCs are leading, the NDP is catching them or have caught them. We could see a minority government in Ontario where the balance of power is held by a small Liberal caucus, so we'll have to keep an eye on that one. All right, tell us what's in store if the NDP wins. What can our friends in the business community expect?
Well, you've already spoken a few times about the NDP strategy. Almost seems to be if you like the policies of the Liberals, you can get them with us without getting Kathleen Wynne. And so, not surprisingly, we've got similar sized debt coming out, and we've got similar programs, although they're somewhat different, with pledges of pharmacare and dental care and so forth. But one of the ways that the NDP is trying to temper these big spending promises is by actually also introducing some tax increases, so that they help offset the expenditure by bringing in some more revenue. And so, whereas the PCs have indicated they will reduce the corporate income tax rate in Ontario from 11.5% to 10.5%, the NDP has indicated they're going to raise that rate from 11.5% to 13%, which is where it was a number of years ago.
All right.
So that's one. They are going to keep that small business corporate income tax rate at 3.5%. So the drop from 4.5% as a rate to 3.5% is staying in place. But as well, and this is one that's not mentioned, that doesn't get a lot of attention, but it actually is quite an irritant. I know the Toronto Region Board of Trade raised this as one of their key policy planks, is the business education tax. And it's a portion on the property tax on businesses, which usually disproportionately affects companies in, say, the urban centers. And the NDP has actually indicated that they will actually bring in a uniform business education tax, so that it will level out. There's going to be there's a program for a continuous reduction of this currently, which the Liberals have kind of stopped, and the NDP will continue it until you get to a level rate. So that actually will result in a tax cut under an NDP government for a lot of Ontario businesses.
Okay, and we should point out too, the PC party, Doug Ford has said that he will not proceed with the increase to the minimum wage to $15 an hour come January 1st, 2019. The Liberals will, the NDP will.
The NDP will also mandate 3 weeks of vacation.
Okay. We should touch quickly on the fact that the PC party will allow the sale of beer in convenience stores. The NDP quickly came out and said they will not. The Liberals, kind of a weird call, the Liberal War Room, calling out the danger, the recklessness of doing that, and then of course the war rooms from the PC party produced pictures of Kathleen Wynne standing in supermarkets where Liberal-sanctioned beer is being sold in supermarkets but not convenience stores. So it was a little bit odd there.
Well, and similarly, especially if you follow on social media, a lot of people coming from other provinces where this already takes place suggesting that, the danger to the public may not materialize in the same way. So yes, that played out in a few ways.
I remember I'm quite old, as you know. In 1985, David Peterson, that election promised to put beer and wine in convenience stores, and 33 years later, It still hasn't happened. That government never went forward with it. I mean, you know the beer industry better than I do, having worked for their industry association.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure that they would be enamored with the thought of all those extra delivery points, but that's, you know, for them and the government to figure out, I guess.
For sure, for sure. It's a lot of this always comes down to the issue of price versus choice. If you've got more sales points, you know, theoretically there's more choice, although many of those sales points only stock a certain number of brands or SKUs, and so the choice is somewhat limited there. But oftentimes it weighs on the price side of things, and we'll see whether or not the public is actually satisfied if that policy is actually put into place by what they see at the till.
So we had Catherine Fife on here, the NDP member from Waterloo, and we talked about the Jobs and Prosperity Fund, and she said they would keep it.
They would, yes.
But they would put some strings, additional strings in there for things like apprenticeships. So that program would continue, but we can expect to see some more social levers attached to getting the funding. Any comment?
Yeah, so within the platform for the NDP, and again, the economy is mentioned in the NDP platform, but it's not really as prominent as all of the care categories that we've got. But really within the NDP economy plank, there's a number of pledges to do things like develop a food and water strategy. There's a pledge to create an advisory panel on the innovation economy. So recognizing that there are economic levers that the government can and should do in order to create a proper business environment, but they don't necessarily have the answers just yet. But the one sort of concrete pledges with dollars attached to it is that expansion of the Jobs and Prosperity Fund. So definitely that fund will continue under an NDP government, but there would be additional streams within it, one of which would be to help fund mid-career education for individuals. Another would be to promote manufacturing research and development, and there's $57 million annually for creating opportunities in the trades, as well as doubling the Career Kickstart program to create 27,000 new co-op and internship placements. So a number of different programs, initiatives being kind of shoehorned into the Jobs and Prosperity Fund, so really taking a much more prominent space in an NDP economic platform.
We'll give them credit for being a little creative and thinking outside of the box. And last point, I guess if you're someone that's in the business of building affordable housing or repairing affordable housing, you're probably looking forward to the next term of government, whatever stripe it is.
Yeah, so on the development side, the NDP is certainly the most explicit in terms of what they're going to be doing out of all of the parties. Their platform indicates that they're going to build 65,000 new affordable housing units. They don't say how, but they just indicate that that's a number that they're going for. They also indicate that they're going to expand on inclusionary zoning, which was a bit of a controversial issue that came up, and these are measures that municipalities can use to kind of mandate affordable housing within developments that come forward. One of the things that certainly a number of our clients will be interested in is just the fact that the infrastructure dollars being pledged by the Liberals and the NDP are both very similar. The one key distinction is that the NDP has indicated they will not be using P3s for their infrastructure building.
Oh yes, the evil P3s. Okay, so the thinking there that the government can borrow money cheaper than the private sector can, so these P3s or AFP, alternative finance projects, should be no more. All right, so we're out of time.